All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the last session of today, but it's also like a very good way to recap what we have discussed because like we have covered a lot of different topics, including energy, including agriculture, including finance, but every kind of business activity is actually linked with supply chain because it's actually the way to connect the factory with the end consumers. And the supply chain is actually not only part of the big problem of sustainability, but it's also a big solution to sustainability, and it also drives the companies to achieve their sustainability goal. So today we have the honor to invite a group of very distinguished panel speakers from the industry leading companies, and I think I'd like to first start with a round of introduction. Maybe start with her.
Thank you, Cici. I'm Henry Ko, VP and Chairman of Greater China of Flexport. So maybe I can briefly introduce Flexport a little bit. So we are a US-based tech company headquartered in San Francisco. Flexport is an end-to-end platform for global trade, and our mission is basically make global trade easy for everyone.
Okay, next one.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Christiana Wang from GD Logistics. We are the largest end-to-end supply chain service providers.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Terry Gao from GLP Supply Chain Platform. GLP is investment manager and asset manager and business builders in supply chain and data infrastructures, and also the renewable energies as well. Our platform's mission is that to provide the best supply chain services to our clients. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your introduction. And I think to kick off the session, because today we are discussing about supply chain optimization under the big umbrella of sustainability issue. So I think my first question is, why do you think supply chain optimization should consider the sustainability aspects? And how has your company integrated sustainability into your supply chain optimization strategy? I think maybe I still start with this flow.
Before we discuss the supply chain sustainability, I really like to share a little bit more on what is supply chain, right? So from Flexport, our mission is to make global trade easy for everyone. So what is global trade? So if you can imagine, everything around us, the chair we are sitting, the outfit we are dressing, and also the mobile phone we are using every single day pretty much actually go through the entire supply chain process, all the way from design, R&D, and manufacturing, right? And then Flexport, we are pretty much participating in delivering from the factory all the way to the internationally to final destination and reach to the end consumers. So we are very much focusing on end-to-end, but on the other hand, we are also a platform actually provide customer for true visibility of everything during the entire international transportation journey. So in discussion of the sustainability of supply chain, I think I just take one example as a shipping industry. For international transportation, pretty much combination of air and ocean and trucking, right? For single industry sector like shipping, basically if you can imagine one container ship, which is also equivalent to the 6 football pitches, it produces the same amount of population as 60 million of cars on the road, 60, right? So it's really huge. If we consider shipping sector as a country, basically it's a number 6 carbon emission in the world. So basically it's just less than China, USA, India, Russia, and Japan. So it's a massive, and it is super huge. So as one of the stakeholder and also part of the ecosystem, Flexport, we really want to actively participate in driving that sustainability, right? Through our core competency, especially from our technology and innovation, our infrastructure, as well as our expertise. So basically, we have our so-called carbon calculator, which is free of charge for our customer, so that they can use it to measure their carbon emission end to end in real time. And secondly, we try to reduce through our supply chain optimization, because with data and all those infrastructure, we are able to connect online and offline in order to help our customer and user to reduce the carbon emission. And last but not least, we really want to actually reduce CO emission through partnering with different NGO and different experts internationally, so that we can truly make sure that through all different process, through technology, we are able to proactively address these sustainability efforts.
All right, Henry has already discussed a little bit of what we are going to deep dive into for the next question. So I will come back to you later. And next one.
Actually, for GD Logistics, we link the product and the consumer directly. So for us, the core for supply chain means experiencing the customer experiencing cost and efficiency. So for us, we are trying to build an intelligent supply chain for us. And since from last year, we are going to build not only for the integrated supply chain, but more climate resilient and flexibility. And for us, we want to try to use the technology to reduce all the impact, the emission, global warming impact to everyone, for the clients, for the consumer, and for us ourselves. As we know, the transportation emissions is the third largest of the carbon emission source of the world after energy and industrial. So for us, how to make the sustainability target into our business running is more important for us.
Yeah, as far as I know, GD also has set up one of the first carbon neutrality logistic park in China. Maybe we'll discuss about it later. And last one.
I think sustainability is kind of the concept well accepted by most parties in the market. I think GLP operates 17 countries and areas business in the world, and we have a huge amount of infrastructure. I mean the warehouses globally. So the ESG concept is highly encouraged in our company, and we encourage everyone in the company to learn and use the ESG concepts in the daily life and daily work. In terms of the supply chain sustainabilities, we can find a lot of examples during the daily work. But I think the sustainability is highly rely on the collaboration upstreams and downstreams, especially for our clients, the brands, the manufacturers, they give us the inventories from end to end, and they are kind of out of control, the whole business. And as supply chain service providers like Flexport and Jingdong and the GLP supply chain, we take advantage of the concepts and the technologies and our resources to minimize the carbon emissions globally. And our brands enjoyed our work, and maybe in Europe they can just enjoy the tax benefits as well. So I think supply chain optimization is not just a concept itself. It's involved in our daily life, and the GLP supply chain. We encourage a lot of people to find the clues in our daily work to encourage the sustainability.
All right, thank you for the very inspiring sharing. And I have some follow-up question for each of you, just based on what you have shared. I will start with the lady, because I know Christina is also she actually played a very critical role in designing the very innovative carbon footprint management platform for GD Logistics, which is actually also one of the very first globally. So can you share with us more details about this?
Of course, thank you for giving us a chance to share our experiences for the carbon emission management system. And actually, GDL is the China first and only company who commit the SBTI target, science-based target with 1.5 degrees centigrade. So for us, how to calculate exactly the emission result is more important for us because we need to take seriously with these numbers, and also we need to take responsibility for the carbon emission for our clients and customers. For that, and as I mentioned before, the transportation is the biggest, the third emission source of the world. So we want to link with the carbon emission reduction methodology from UNFCCC, which is the first carbon emission coming out of age 2007, and with the carbon emission calculations in a digital form. So then we forced us to make it happen, and we finally make it, and with the past ISO 14064 methodology, and we get approved by Bureau Veritas, and that system can calculate very accurate database from waybill and like older bills. That is the minimized practical the size for the each emissions cost. So we knowing the calculation for the emission is not really important. It's just like basic function. But back of the platform, we can find a very big data, like more than millions data. We can helping us, our clients, to find how to make the clear and right way to reduce their carbon emission. For example, we helping Apple to calculate their two wheels electricity scooters carbon emissions. Even we knowing that is a really good way to reduce their carbon emission for the selling product. But this still can helping them to knowing which provinces, which city can reduce more. So that all come from this platform. So that's which we are really mean that the data is really helping us to make right decisions. And also we cooperate with Bureau Veritas. This is a very large third-party organizations. We're trying to figure out how to use the digital form, helping our clients with the like carbon inventory, the carbon verification report. So when the customer wants knowing their exactly the number for the carbon emission, they just only by click button. Then they're coming out the report within short days. That is neither, we call it low carbon technology innovations of the world.
All right, thank you. This is a very interesting real-world case study. And my next question is to Henry, because Henry actually has almost like 20 years of working experience in the Greater Bay Area, like working across many industry-leading logistic company. And now he's working with Flexport, which is also like the pioneer in terms of utilizing digitalized solution, which also is now like a unicorn. So I'm curious about like how Flexport actually leverage the technology to promote sustainability and also empower your supply chain partners and maybe even including like the consumers through the whole supply chain.
Yeah, I think you mentioned pretty right that within the whole supply chain, right, moving international cargo, it is an extremely complex and complicated process and involve multiple different parties. Especially, for example, if we're moving a cargo from point A to point B internationally, perhaps involve at least more than 50 stakeholders and company in the whole process, perhaps including not only Flexport but also JD and GLP. I think as a technology company, we really want to integrate our core competency, right? Especially from technology, how we can drive the impact, environmental impact for sustainability purpose. If I'm going to summarize basically 3 areas. Number 1 is to measure, right? So every single company, if they want to really look into the sort of like emission efforts, they have to understand how many carbon output within their responsible area. And most of the time, it is very hard to figure out what is the carbon emission within my own supply chain process, because there's so complex and so many different stakeholders involved in that process. So in Flexport, we as a technology company, as a platform, we are able to connect all the different stakeholders and driving all the data integration and make sure that our customer can have a real-time visibility in measuring their carbon emission. with so-called Flexport carbon calculator. All right, it is free of charge, and the customer within our platform, they are not only can really checking for the physical cargo movement, right? Every single milestone process in real-time manner, but also their carbon emission footprint. And secondly, we really want to leverage our technology to really like reduction. So supply chain optimization. With technology, we are able to give the options for different transportation mode, air, ocean, trucking, warehousing, and everything in front of the customer. So the customer has an option to choose or to shift their transportation mode in order to achieve not only their business, but also sustainability, optimization, and objectives. And number three is, as I mentioned earlier, is more on the offsetting. It's unavoidable. We have all the carbon emission within the whole supply chain process, international shipping. So we partner with all the different NGOs and also different experts so that we can use those remote sensing or machine learning so that to offset carbon through forest restoration as well as the conservation projects. So with all the different initiatives, I think we are helping thousands and thousands of customers to achieve their sustainability measurement, reduction, as well as offsetting.
All right, thank you very much. And the next one is for Terry. And yesterday you also shared with me like you have a specific interest in terms of the pet care and also the mother care under the logistic industry. And my question to you is like, can you elaborate on the ways in which like you measure and report on the sustainability performance across the supply chain? And like, do you think supply chain practice, the sustainable supply chain practice actually contributing to creating the measurable value for your organization?
Okay, thank you for the question. Our team is specialized in the maternal and infant industry and also the pets food industry. Here, an example about the sustainability, the practice. Our clients, a lot of brands, international brands from the European countries and America. It's kind of acceptable that from the overseas the inventory to China is acceptable. It's acceptable to have some damaged inventories. The percentage is about 3% or something like that, right? And in practice, we received a lot of inventories from the overseas. We noticed that the damage rate is very, very high. It's about maybe 10% above. Okay, especially they have the past damage inside in the bag, the package. So we learned and we asked our brand owners that your package is something wrong with the moisture control and the temperature control. You have to change. Okay, because the 3%, in China we have almost 20 billion renminbi the inventory from overseas to China per year, and 3% is a huge number of the money. And if the food is damaged, I think it's a very good example to the carbon emission. The food is made of the cow or the sheep. The animals release a lot of carbon oxygens, right? So we have to protect the existing food, the inventory. I think it's a good practice to practice the sustainability in the practice, right? Thank you.
All right, thank you for this case sharing. And my next question is to any of you, if like you feel interested in like answering the question. It's not compulsory for all of you. Because just now we discussed about some of your like own company's practice in terms of like the sustainable strategy and also some of the best practice. But it's also very critical to actually collaborate with the value chain partners. Just like Henry mentioned a little bit, for example, like the collaboration with NGOs and maybe like this collaboration with the Beyond Expo today is also another way to have like unify with the ecosystem players. But like, do you think like you can share? Could you please share some of the, for example, good cases or some of your best practice in terms of like fostering or like promoting this kind of collaboration, so that like a lot of the ecosystem players can also join together to promote sustainability in the supply chain?
Actually, it's a very good example which we launched last year. We call it shared carbon reduction program, which is means because for the supply chain it's very specific. The consumer and also the clients and also the supply chain providers, we are in the same line. And for the carbon emission, we all have overlapping part. So based on the overlapping part, for example, if clients A use GDL or GLP warehouse or transportation services, so the transportation or warehouse generate the carbon emissions. That part only generated once. But for us, each of us, we need to report on our ESG report. But when we reduce them, we only reduce once is enough based on the methodology. So how to reduce that, how to share the result for the emission reductions is very important for us. And also we opened the WeChat for our consumer. For the consumer, they can choose your great way to do their daily express. So we also sharing and calculating, that's kind of, we call it green activities from consumer. It's impacted to our clients. And we share the result for the carbon emission reduction to our clients. We link them together based on the order bill or way bill. So both of us can share the total effort for the carbon emission reductions. That's what link us. Actually, only for the supply chain can link consumer, provider, and also the clients together. I think it's really amazing for us, and so this is the reason we want to push more to be a greener and a low carbon supply chain.
Yeah, definitely. You play a very critical role as a super connector. Who else would like to take the question?
Maybe I can take a couple examples, right? So I have been in this industry for many years. So one of the most impressive about Flexport is also about our operating process, right? As an organization in a global supply chain, basically it is very heavy paper work operating. So you can imagine all the paperwork for custom declaration, for different process within the organization and everything. To me, to truly realize the digitization in operating process and truly paperless, it is almost a dream. But this dream actually happened in Flexport. Our entire organization, we didn't actually have a printer in the office, right? The printer is there basically for our HR and legal team for some regulatory requirement. But in terms of operating process, we are successfully achieved paperless. So as an organization, I think it's a big achievement since day one. And then I can also share another customer story that the customer is called Clean Canteen, which is like a leading producer of cups, reusable cup and bottoms. So it is a California company. It is manufacturing based in Shenzhen, and they distribute to the rest of the world. The company actually has a specific sustainability objective and environmental impact that they need to assess all those data within their supply chain. But their current or existing transportation partner or freight forwarding cannot provide accurate data as such. So we come together and support each other to figure out how we can help them to streamline the entire sustainability objectives. I think the outcome is we help them to offset more than 200 CO2 within their 200 tons CO2 within their supply chain. And every single week, we help them to save more than 8 hours in terms of their human efforts to manage sustainability process and manual reports. And more importantly, we help them to save more than 66% of their air freight shipments in order to make their supply chain more environmental friendly as well as cost effective.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And
From my point of view, that supply chain is not totally equal to logistics, right? It's a part of the, logistics is a part of the supply chain. We have procurement, supply chain, finance, logistics, and the distributions as well. And my point of view is that, collaboration needs system. GLP supply chain is like an integrator. We don't operate, we don't manage all the things, right? We can seek the help from maybe from the Flexport and the JD, and we have to, because we are familiar with some vertical industries, we know the knowledge, we know the traps, okay? So we share the knowledge and share the system with our collaborators, the partners. And also we offer the gifts, I mean the credit and the penalty credit to our partners. If you are with the system, you can get the benefits from the services. If you break the rule, and you will get the penalties. And supply chain is not a profitable business, right? It's based on the volume of the service you offer, and some minimal improvement can save money, and the save the money is the fund for all the supply chain service providers, and we can share our improvements and share our thoughts and knowledge as well. So for GLP supply chain, we highly encourage our partners to sit down and talk about what you are good at and what you are not good at. It's not like before that everyone wants to take all the business by the one team. It's impossible, especially for the international supply chain. It's very complicated, right? Like the customer clearance, the transportations, the shipments, the documents is very complicated. So we highly encourage our partners to join as one, win as one. That's our point.
Right. It's very encouraging to know all our guest speakers are very open to the supply chain optimization collaboration. So if any of our audience feels there's the opportunity to collaborate, please just feel free to talk to them after this panel. And my next question, because we have limited time, so I hope the answer could be brief and short. Because when discussing about sustainability, we always talk too much about, for example, carbon emission or recycling. But there's another element which is about people, which is also very important. So can any of you share some of the examples or initiatives which are centered around the social responsibility of your company?
Okay, GL first. Thank you. Give the chance. Actually, I would like to share the example for the epidemic period in China. And as I think both of us knowing, we have two models. It's called the Shanghai model, another called the Jiuxianqiao model. If each talk about how GDL helping the citizens get their needs. I mean, it's called a life need, like food and waters, based on the COVID-19 period. That is, we call the integrated supply chain can provide that kind of services. Then that is the benefit not only for us, but for the social, not only for the people, but for the family. So also we use the technology like contactless Curo EV truck or vehicle. We protect our employee because with less contact and good for them and good for our consumers.
Yeah, I'm also a beneficiary of GD Logistics during the COVID lockdown to get my daily necessities. And who else would like to take the answer?
We we not focus the people only, we also focus the pets. We encourage our team to rescue the street animals in the street, like dogs and the cats, and we provide the free food to the cats and for the dogs to avoid the humans, some bad guys to hurt them, right? So it's kind of ESG. I think it's a very unique one in our business, I think. And in terms of human beings, we provide a lot of to lessons and the seminars to let people know that what we are doing is good for the humans. Especially, we provide a lot of opportunities for the female teammates and let them to have more access to the bigger projects and give them a lot of opportunities and promotions as well. So I think it's also GLP's ESG's the concept and the practice as well.
Yeah, to raise the public awareness is also very important. That's why we are sitting here to also like share the experience in the area.
Well, I think I very much actually agree with Terry, right? So as his earlier mentioned, the entire supply chain need to be integrated upstream and downstream. So every single one, not individually, but also joint effort to achieve sustainability efforts. Take for example, Flexport, we have another business unit called Flexport.org. And every single year, since its funding, right, we supply aids for more than 66 countries, and we help to offset more than 350,000 tons of CO2 during the past few years. I think each individual party, we do our best core competency, but on the other hand, we need to collaborate more in order to achieve joint effort for the ultimate solution and result.
All right, thank you. And then to conclude the session, let's just play a fill the blank game. I have a sentence, so you need to fill the blank. So to build a more sustainable and responsible supply chain, we need to. So here is like the blank for you to use a keyword or like a very short phrase to fill out. So anyone who like to take the first move?
Maybe I start first. We really need to collaborate for all different stakeholders within the whole supply chain in order to create sustainability efforts in more innovation and technology way.
I like to use a sentence which said by United Nations Secretary General Guterres in IPCC AR6 conference. He said we need to unite and green solutions.
To build a better supply chain, I totally agree with Henry's idea that we need to collaborate, but how? I think we need to build a system. It's a kind of ecosystem to let everybody enjoy the benefits. The supply chain can save money, right? Especially in the downtrend economic situation, that we need to collaborate and build a smart system. This system is not like the IT system. It's like the ecosystem, including the IT as well. Yeah, thank you.
All right, it seems like everyone agree on the importance of collaboration. So that's why like we are also sitting here today. So I think this is the end of today's session. Karen's also here. So do we have like a little bit time for the Q&A with the audience?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the brilliant moderating. Sarah is really good at this. Do we have any quick questions on the panel to our speakers today? I actually came to a stage with a question myself. So after a couple of years of COVID, supply chain is actually having a little bit distance to day-to-day life, although it's a solid foundation to every piece of what we're here today. So I think this is a really great opportunity. We learn about really the heroes behind like all the industries supporting our day-to-day life. So my question will be about COVID. This might has been briefly mentioned. Like, how do you see the biggest change because of COVID, and also like more because of COVID and related to climate change, that we're now living in a totally different world. Basically, everything can end up with a crisis in the past couple of years, like energy crisis, food crisis, and now more. And love to hear answers from panel speakers about this.
Maybe I can share my observation, right? So during the COVID, basically people so get used to work from home, consume from home, and educate from home. So that also created an entire different ecosystem in terms of consumption pattern. So the raising of e-commerce being get used to most of the end consumers, right? So if we look at the entire supply chain right now, if based on our business performance, the B2B traditional retail, the volume dropped quite significantly. But if you look at the e-commerce, especially cross-border e-commerce, increased quite a lot. So that means it changed the consumption pattern. So if we look into sustainability aspect, so how that e-commerce in terms of waste, in terms of streamline the entire process, last mile, without consolidation, would that be more environmental unfriendly that we need to take into serious consideration?
And I want to share my experience for JD Logistics. Actually, JD Logistics is not a traditional logistics company. We're born from e-commerce. We're born from JD.com. So we have a really good IT gene for how to do the generation of technology working and serve for the e-commerce. And also we finished our, we call it networking plan, and with remarkable target is we built 35 Asia #1 warehouse logistic parks, and we also have more than 1,500 warehouses. We make it together to make sure our clients or our consumer could get their product in 211. In 2 days, they can get their product. And also if they ordered before 11 a.m. in the same day, they can get their product. That's the reason and how to fix us to make more efficient and how to satisfy our customers.
I think before the COVID-19, every customers, I mean the individual consumers, they maybe didn't realize that supply chain is quite important for their daily life. Especially last year in Shanghai, I don't know if you guys were in Shanghai or not. Okay, we suffered a lot. Okay, we suddenly noticed that the supply chain is so kind of weak, right? And so our clients, especially the brands owners, they talk about a lot. Before they talk about the cost efficiency. Right now they talk about the stability, the security. They want to their inventories maybe separate in different areas in maybe several warehouses. But before that, they want all-in-one to cover all the nation. So it's we are facing the change, and we have to accept it. And in the future, I think that's why we mentioned the collaboration, because one company's resources definitely not can cover all the needs the brands want. But if all the players we join together to give their services, I think the stability of the supply chain will be successful, and it's good for the brand owners, for the distributors, and for the customers as well. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. What a wonderful conclusion. Like we're really living in a interconnected world, and then behind this interconnection is the companies working toward every day of our life, like supply chain industry. And then definitely we're on the collaboration side, and then we're adapting to new ways of living post-COVID, and think this adaptability, resilience, and then connection is something beyond the one to help everyone to go beyond through Macau. So thank you everyone for the wonderful panel. So shall we Is our photographer ready? Can you take a nice picture for our panel here?